Sometimes in life, good things can come from bad situations. Sometimes a bad situation can present an opportunity which previously might not have been there. This is just one of those periods. It's a time when football can have a bit of a clear out. A bit of a clear out that never would have happened without such. It's a time to become more efficient, to trim costs, to do a lot of things in-house in preparation for when football resumes. Now, you may have seen a video before where I was talking about the agents. And something's really prompted this. Yesterday I was watching Sky Sports News and Damien Comolli was on there. Damien Comolli is the former technical director of Tottenham Hotspur. Now, he was saying something which we all already know, which is when football resumes, the transfer market is going to be a bit of a lull. There's not going to be as much money in the game, so people are going to have to be a little bit more creative. And where did this information come from to Damien Comolli? He said he'd spoken to 3 agents. The agents are expecting things to be slow. Now, as somebody that just wants football to come back so as I can go to the games and do that sort of thing, I think good. I've told you before, I don't care. If it's not Felipe Anderson on the wing and it's Grady Diangana, good. I don't care. If we have to bring some more youngsters through, good. Lose a few big-time Charlies, good. Players that are homesick, want to go back home, I don't mind. I just want some football. I think it might be better anyway. I think we might identify with the team a little bit more if there's some home players on the pitch, some homegrown players on the pitch. And I do think if we get into that stadium, then we'll be pleased just to be there. We'll be grateful. I think you're getting a better atmosphere. I think there's a whole lot of things going on. I don't mind. Just good to all of that. But the agents is very, very important because I do think the financial situation has presented itself. Now, there's an interview that Claret and Hughes done with, well, he doesn't say. I'll tell you now, it's either Gold or Sullivan, basically. So he's spoken to one of the two of them on the phone. I'll just read you the article, and it's very, very interesting. It says West Ham will be looking to come to an agreement aimed at settling whatever they may be owed in Sabastien Haller's transfer fee when he joined from Eintracht Frankfurt. So basically, whatever they owe Eintracht Frankfurt. It says the Hammers are believed to owe between 25 and 30 million. Now, this particular deal was paid over 18 months rather than the normal 5 years. It goes on to say that a financial crisis is hitting most clubs, so talks will be going ahead between clubs aimed at coming to new agreements based on the original terms. It's a bit like your car loan. I've just done the car loan, right? I spoke to the car loan company. They basically said, don't worry, you don't have to make a payment for 3 months because money's tight. I think you may well find something similar in football. And what is important to remember is there's no actual sanctioning body at the moment. So let's say under normal circumstances, West Ham didn't pay Frankfurt for Sabastien Haller, had missed a payment or something like that. What would they do? They'd take it to UEFA. UEFA would rule on it. Well, UEFA ain't sitting on anything at the moment, I can tell you that. And even if they did, what are UEFA going to do about it? Well, ban West Ham from European football? Well, that's hardly much of a threat now, is it? Let's be perfectly fair. We're not in the thing. Can UEFA ask the FA to sanction West Ham? Well, I guess they could, but the FA can't sanction West Ham. Because what have the FA got to do with anything? It's the Premier League that run the league. Basically, there's nothing UEFA can do. Now, I'm not saying we don't pay Frankfurt the money. I just think we have to find a creative system where we can pay them back over a longer period. Not just them. Some people will owe us money for players. I think we may have to accept that they can't quite afford it at the moment. The real final thing is the Court of Arbitration for Sport. It's not sitting. They're not ruling on anything. They can't. There's no sport. There's nothing to rule on, and certainly you're not going to be flying delegates over Europe to go and rule on something which is going to be happening to every club. So, and here's the interesting thing, and here's what takes it back to the last bit. It says various stalling tactics could be used, such as going to the arbitration, which I've just spoken about. But the Irons are hopeful that all parties involved in such situations will come to their own agreements given the extraordinary health crisis which has thrown everything into utter turmoil. A senior source, there we go, you see, a senior source on the phone told Claret and Hugh that would be the best way forward. It's a scenario which involves virtually every club and they will all be trying to find an amicable solution to the issue. I think this is the best way forward for ourselves and Frankfurt. The last sentence is key. The same situation can be applied to agents' commissions. Do them. I'm telling you, do them. Now's the opportunity to get these parasites out of the game. What do they actually do? Why does a footballer need an agent to sit there and thrash out the best terms of a deal with a football club? The very service that the agents provide in doing so, do you know that the PFA provide that service for free? A footballer already pays his PFA membership. If what you want is somebody that's on your side to sit in a meeting, so you got the owners on one side of the desk, you got the manager maybe on the meeting, and then you've got the player sat there. If you feel outgunned, if you feel that you need someone on your side, have a member of the PFA in there. They're going to be on your side. We've seen that. They're biased beyond reason. They really are, the PFA. They will look after their players. They'll do anything that the player wants. Have the player in there to negotiate your price. You don't need the agent. The Premier League pays the PFA a lot of money every year. The players pay their subscriptions. The PFA get a lot of money. I think Gordon Taylor, the head of the FA, is on something like £2.7 million a year. So I might be wrong. It's a lot of money. Get them in there. You don't need the agents. And let's be fair, at the moment, what judge anywhere is going to rule in favour of an agent? Because at the moment we have mitigating circumstances. You're not going to get anybody anywhere willing to penalise anyone for failing to make a payment on something. Now, I'm not saying you necessarily use it for your advantage and you become unscrupulous, of course, but this is absolutely a way not to pay agents their commission. Not only that, it's a way not to involve them in any future negotiations at all. I'll tell you a little story. David Sullivan, when we did the videos about there not being many scouts. What David Sullivan was doing was using agents. He'd got 2 or 3 favoured agents and they would recommend him players. They would say such and such is available here, such and such is available there. It's exactly how the Felipe Anderson transfer came about, by the way. In fact, if I tell you now that when Sabastien Haller was being muted to come in, one of Sullivan's favourite agents did not want him at all. He was saying, "Don't do it, don't do it. He will not be able to play in this league." But Sullivan relies heavily on words in his ear from agents. Now, I understand it might be his way of doing stuff, but they are not cheap, and you don't need them. There's a certain amount of trust in handing over the keys to the safe, in that sense, to David Moyes. But that's what scouting systems are for. Because obviously it's far more advantageous for an agent to recommend a player that's on his books. If I've got 2 pinball machines for sale and you're looking to buy a pinball machine, obviously I'm going to try and sell you mine because I want to make some money out of it, not somebody else who I don't know. I might be honest and say, "Oh, to be fair, someone else has got a better one than me at a better price." You might do that. But is an agent really likely, if you're after a striker, to recommend a striker on someone else's books? No. He's going to recommend you the one, number 1, that he knows wants to move, number 2, that knows he wants more money for, and number 3, that he can gain the most commission for. They're parasites. You don't actually need these people in football at all. And I just wonder if now is the time to take the broom out and just sweep them out of the game. Now, it's not going to be easy. This cannot be done with one person, with one owner thinking do this. Now, it's not just going to be one owner thinking it, but everybody has got to come together. So I do wonder, when the Premier League are having all these meetings, and they're all they're all basically saying, "Oh, when can we get the Premier League up and running?" Basically, you've got all 20 representatives from a club, all the owners, having these conference calls all the time. Rather than, I understand they've got to discuss when the Premier League starts again. But what about if someone forwards a motion for the first topic of conversation? Collectively, we're all responsible for football. We're all responsible for ourselves. We're all responsible for our own clubs. Collectively, let's all get together and let's get rid of the agents. Let's make up our own system. Let's save ourselves some money and keep the money in football. Last year, if you remember, We paid the agents, we, the Premier League, paid the agents 200, I think it was over 250 million. Money that's just disappeared from the game. For what? For what? I bet there are people who are watching now who've got an encyclopedic knowledge of the French game, the Italian game, so the German, the Bundesliga, all that stuff. I bet you know who the best winger is in the Bundesliga. The best up-and-coming striker in France. Do you really need an agent to give you a bit of information on a player for £2.5 million fee, when really a scout can do that at 1% of the cost?